Hello, ladies and gentlemen from around the world. Welcome to another exciting episode of the Global Talkative Series here from our studio in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. Now, Global Talkative Series is a worldwide platform where we come to inspire one another, collaborate, and share ideas and ask questions and provide answers. And we've been blessed with amazing, wonderful guests on this show from around the world. And today is not an exception because we have a wonderful guest in the house today. A mother, a mentor, an inspiring woman, an author, and someone that you all need to listen to. She's got a lot of experience, in the course of our sojourn here in Canada, and it's an honor for us to have Mrs. Moji Taiwo in the house. Now, I'm going to bring her in on Instagram right about now. Thank you, Dr. Olaiwola Jele from Birmingham for joining us. IBO7, thank you for joining. Andrea, thank you. Baby, thank you for joining. We appreciate you. Mrs. Moji Taiwo will be joining us right about now on Instagram because we are reaching live real time on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram all at the same time, just to make sure that we okay. Okay. Let me just bring you in now. I'm coming. Oh, I'm trying to bring guest in to join us on Instagram. So I've sent an invitation to I again. Just click to join the chat. Thank you, Mr. Bolutufe Oluwadele, for joining. Thank you, Andrea, for joining. Dr. Olaiwola Ajile from Birmingham, thank you for joining. We appreciate you. And for those who are joining us, okay, we're still waiting for Mrs. Taiwo to join us on Instagram.
We send it.
Okay, let me just do it right away. Thank you very much for joining us from everywhere in the world this evening. Thank you so much. This is the Global Talkative Series. Okay, have you seen the request to join us? Okay, don't worry, I see you. So, okay, so I think it's gonna connect now. And let me just work on the volume. Okay, we're waiting for you to connect. It's saying waiting for you to connect. I can see you. Yeah, it's just waiting for you to connect. Yeah, I can see you. It's saying waiting for Moji Taiwo to connect. It's saying okay.
This evening. Thank you so much. This is the Global.
Okay. I think I just joined. Moji Taiwo joined.
Yeah, but the video, we need you to.
I can see you. Yeah, it's just waiting for you to connect.
So it's saying waiting for Moji Taiwo to connect. All right.
All right.
Okay, so thank you. Finally, we can see you, and you probably need to adjust your phone so that our viewers can see you very well.
You have a rookie here.
Don't worry,
A
it's
techie
gonna work.
rookie.
It's gonna
You
work.
have a techie rookie here.
Thank you
How's
very
it
much.
now?
We can see your face, but well, I can see your face very well. Our audiences from around the world would see your face on Facebook and YouTube, but on Instagram, it's just like off from here. They can see you, so probably do some a little bit of adjustment. Sorry for that if you're joining us right now. We appreciate you, Mr. Labarinekon. Thank you for joining. Tete Folarin, thank you for joining. Emmanuel Elonio, British Media, thank you for joining. We appreciate you. Thank you for your patience.
Okay.
All right. So, audience, thank you for the little itch and glitch here and there. We just, try to accommodate everybody. And our guest today is Moji Taiwo, author, community activist, and mentor. And today's topic is war against the pandemic and the diversity dilemma. We have this major issue happening, all around us, and then it is time for us to engage in productive conversation to make sure that we can find some solace and then some a ground to relate, because we learn from experiences, we learn from those who've gone ahead and who've seen some things, and then that is the opportunity and the privilege we have in our guest today. And like we do it on this show, I'm just going to read the short bio of our guest, so that you can relate with her when we go into the discussion. I read: Moji Taiwo, author, speaker, coach, facilitator, retired civil servant, and a model. Now, during my 31 years service with Alberta Justice and Solicitor General, Young Offender Branch, I worked tirelessly to improve, impact, and positively shape the lives of young people and their families as well. I enjoyed training, mentoring young staff, and watched them develop and progress in their chosen careers. Equally in the community, I have delivered life skills program classes to youth groups since 1993 as well, and model professionally in spare time. A recipient of many community leadership and professional awards, including but not limited to Governors General's Correction Exemplary Service Board Award in 2015. The Service Medal Award 2008, and many other volunteer services awards. Most recently in 2018, she received the 25th year anniversary of NCAC Volunteer Award and was chosen the cover story of Lethbridge College alumni magazine, The Wider Horizon. In 2017, a story was featured as one of the Canada's 150 stories, an immigrant success story by the Canadian Race Relations Foundation. And it was a founding and active member of the Nigerian Canadian Association of Calgary in 1993, the Yoruba Foundation Calgary in 2004, and the Women of Vision Calgary 2012, and an avid volunteer for causes that improve the lives of youth, women, families, and community through the board membership at various higher institutions and community organizations, including the Calgary Police Services Diversity Unit. She joyfully shares her professional expertise and knowledge as a successful immigrant who is a proud Canadian and a well lifestyle fashion model. And most importantly, a wife, a mother, and grandmother of three beautiful boys. That is an impressive resume. How are you doing, ma, today?
I am exceptionally well. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for taking time to be part of this conversation. We appreciate you for this. And to our audience, sorry for the little itch here and there while we started this conversation. We're just trying to make everybody, we want to meet the needs of every individual, so to speak, our audiences across all the platforms. And our discussion today is war against the pandemic and the diversity dilemma, which is a major issue in our community. Like we've said several times on this show, we have two major pandemics ravaging our planet: the racism pandemic and the coronavirus pandemic. Now, one has been on for a long time. Coronavirus is not until just recently, but this issue of race has been something that has been ongoing for a long time. Before we go into that, let's start by talking about your journey and life experiences in Canada. How will you describe your unique life? Let's start with that, ma.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone, or good day, wherever you are. And I apologize for the glitches. I'm a rookie at these things. So please forgive me as I learn along the way. And learning is my passion. So my mantra is, I live to learn until I live. I live
Mm,
to learn until I live.
that's
So
amazing.
I'm learning. The question, thank you for having me, Lanre. It's an honor to be here to share. You asked how about my journey and my
life experience in
life
Canada.
experience in Canada. Well, my life experience in Canada is quite unique because I came to Canada as a young, single African girl. I won't even say woman. I was a girl because that was before I wasn't even 20 years old yet when I came to Canada. And I came to Canada in 1978. So for those people who are in Canada or North America, you get an impression, you can picture in your head a single girl, African girl, living home for the first time alone and leaving the comfort of Nigeria to the uncertainty of a new nation called Canada. So that's number one. The weather, it's from one extreme to the other extreme. You're roasting, toasting in Nigeria, and you're freezing cold in Canada.
You can say that again.
So, and it just happened that the day I came, it was minus 28 degrees Celsius in Canada, in Calgary. It was minus 28 degrees Celsius. So that was another shock. And my other interesting point about my journey is daring to enroll or attempting to enroll in a broadcasting program in a school where they've never had a Black student in broadcasting before, let alone a Black student from Africa, from Nigeria, in broadcasting program. That had its own challenges. It's not just that they just accepted me into the program just like that, but I ended up graduating from that program nonetheless.
Wow.
So yeah, what else can I tell you? Life has been, hills and valleys and a lot of in between, but I'm very happy to be here.
That is amazing. That is, I was listening to your book. Yeah, you said in your book that just about a month to your 20th birthday, you left, Ikorodu Road for Calgary. Well, until you get into this community or in this country, there's no basis for how you can compare how cold it is. Because for me too, it was like we came in during summer, so it was good. It was like nice, okay. But I remember I was in a bus some few months when we landed, and the bus driver was saying that you see all these green, beautiful grasses, they're gonna be covered all white. And I said, "What do you mean by white? It's not possible. How can everywhere be white?" He said, "Oh, you just knew." I said, "Yes." He said, "Okay, don't worry." So I wasn't. I saw it and I was like, whoa, and I can imagine. So what would you say?
At least you had time to prepare.
Yes, yeah.
I just dove right into it, and that's more or less the story of my life. I just dive into whatever I feel like I should do, and I go for it.
Wow. So I have a question. What are the experience, the high points of your journey so far? The highest point of the experiences. What you've experienced so much that this is like, wow, this is too much for me. Your experience so far. Why you've been here in this country for well over 40 years?
Well, the highest point again is when I came and I only had one-way ticket. So even though I'd wanted to go back to Nigeria, I couldn't afford to go back. And my parents were not well off to be able to send me a return ticket.
Wow.
So I knew I came to figure out and sort out myself. So that was one. The other one, of course, is graduating from radio arts from Lethbridge College, and then meeting my husband, having children, and joining Alberta Corrections and finding my way through navigating the system. Every country, every nation have their own system.
Yes.
And leaving Nigeria to come to North America, it's not only changing into one system, it's almost like you have to be reprogrammed all over again.
Yeah.
So navigating through the system, education system, employment system, social system, and all the built-in challenges that's there. Those are my highlights. Not only graduating in broadcasting and joining Better Justice, working in corrections, and moving on through the ranks within the correctional system.
Wow.
At the same time, finding time and support of my family to give back to my community.
Yeah.
I am a very community-oriented person.
Yeah.
Because my belief is nobody is going to do for you if you don't do for yourself.
Exactly.
So therefore, if I want things to happen, I have to get out there and make it happen.
Wow.
And again, that's another story of my life. So people will say, but where do you have time? Where do you get time? I say you create time. When something is important to you, you will always find time. But that is not to say that you sacrifice or to the detriment of something else. Wow. Yes, you make sacrifices, but it should not be detrimental to your other life.
Okay, good. Like we said, our audience at the beginning that our speaker today is an author, and then you wrote such an amazing book. And the next question is, what inspired you to write such a book? And in your words, how was it received? Let's just bring you in.
This is the book. I give because I'm blessed because I give. And it's a chronicle of an immigrant's journey. So sometimes people look at the title and they think it's a religious book.
Yeah.
I have a disclaimer. I'm not really religious, but I am faithful. Hence the title of my book. I believe in giving and I believe in receiving.
That's the principle.
Yes.
The principle.
So
the principle.
The book it's just chronicles my journey as a young person. It chronicles my journey as an individual. It chronicles my journey as an immigrant of visible minority in Canada. It chronicles my journey as a person who sets goals and works towards achieving those goals. And a person who takes challenges or challenging situation and find a way of cultivating something good out of it. That's what the book is all about.
And how has it been received?
It's been good, actually. Well, it's been good amongst people of our race. I did face obstacles when I would go to the local bookstores to try and have them carry the book. They will be enthusiastic until they realize that there are some things in there that I wrote that they were not prepared to read, to hear, or to listen to. And I'm sure we'll talk about that a little bit later on. But and that's what makes this book pertinent to this moment. The book was actually released 2 years ago.
Wow.
But it's most relevant to this moment.
What is happening? Yeah.
To what's happening around the globe when it comes to race relations and racism. The book is actually more pertinent to that today than it was 2 years ago. And you asked me what motivated me to write
the book. Yeah.
Well, I meet people like you and a few other people, and we will get talking, and they will be taken by my stories, and they will say, have you ever thought of putting it down on paper? And I'll say, yeah, I love reading, I love writing, but I don't know that my story is more unique than anybody else's story for that matter. And then I retired unplanned. And I was charged with taking care of one of my grandsons. One was a brand new baby. And I thought, okay, this is what I could do with my time. And I started writing. It took 2 years. So I started the book when the baby was 6 months old, and it was 2.5 years by the time I finished. So yeah,
Thank you
it's
very
good.
much.
It's
Thank you
good.
very much. Fareke on Instagram said, "What is the book called?" And thank you, Mr. Bulutu. First said the book is called "I Give Because I'm Blessed. I'm blessed because I give." Thank you so much, Mr. Bulutu, for that answer. Now, talking in terms of this book, the question I have is that having worked 31 years of your life with Alberta Justice and Solicitor General, Young Offender Branch, and as a person of color, the question is, how would you describe your experience mainly as a black person?
To say it was very challenging would be an understatement. Because not only am I black, not only do I speak in a certain way, and a female black person who speak in a certain way in corrections is never heard of.
Wow.
Correction is typically male, white.
Dominated area.
Yes, and it's a very rough and tumble area, and on and on. But I was fortunate enough that after my broadcasting training and brief career, I returned to school and basically realized that I've always had passion from high school, from boarding school, working with younger students. So when I returned to University of Lethbridge, I took sociology, criminology, juvenile delinquency program and things like that. And that led me into this position because also I was at the right place at the right time, I think. Or maybe I didn't think. Usually I don't think things through before I jump in. The government was changing from pure punitive correctional model to rehabilitative corrective model for young people. And at that time, they started recruiting for people who are actually educated in the field. And that's how I went back in circle to my original passion, which is working with young people. And that's how I ended up in corrections.
Wow.
And it wasn't easy because, of course, you have to be physically fit. So there are stages. It's like being, it's like applying to be a police officer.
Yeah.
So there is the oral test, there is the written test, there is the physical test. And everything must be passed along the way before you are actually start working. So with that, nobody's ever seen a person like me before and going through that training. And by that time, I already have 2 young children. So I was one of the more older candidates in the group. But nonetheless, I pulled my own weight. I did good. I got hired. But then, they're not familiar with somebody like me.
Yeah.
So the test, there's so many different tests and so many comments and so many assumptions, so many deductions about, this. They did all they could do to frustrate me to leave, but I wasn't going to. So I went through that, and from there, I was actually really good, connected with the kids and their families. They come from so many different families. And also, I think because I was Black and kind of young, but I also have children.
Yeah.
I was really able to connect with the kids a lot, and they connected with me a lot, to the point that when I was going on my days off, you can tell that the kids will not want me to leave. They will be asking, when are you going to come back? When are you
Wow.
going to come back? So I really found my calling. And
Mm.
so things moved on. I became a case manager and supervising people. And of course, I face all kinds of challenges there because the way I look and sound,
It's different.
I shouldn't be supervising some people.
Wow. Wow.
But that did not stop me. And moved on to the ranks of management. And as a manager, you know, it has its own challenges. Even though I was now one of the bosses, there were still challenges there. But
Wow.
you know, yeah, I persevered, and it's turned out really good, actually.
Hmm. That is amazing. I can imagine at that time, far back 20, 30 years ago, working as a young black person in a white dominated, environment, a lot of
W-
challenges
w-
here and there. And to take up on that question, what will you say, will you say there has been true diversity and inclusion within the Canadian system
Well, I
based on
would
your experience
say
so far?
I would say yes and no.
Hmm.
Yes, in the sense that most mainstream Canadian are familiar and exposed to different food,
Yeah.
different cultural food. I would say yes because they're familiar with our festivals and dances and, you know, things like that. At least when I wear my outfit now, or you wear your outfit as a male, they will not stop you and ask you why you're wearing your PJs.
Wow.
During my time, they will ask, why are you wearing your PJs?
What?
Now I can tie my head and it will be okay. At that time, they will be asking, why are you trying to look different? Why can't
Wow.
you just look normal?
Hmm. So that
So
means the way you're
in that
looking is not good to their
it's not
standard.
normal to their standard. So in that case, yes, there's been a shift. But as far as systemic obstacles in education, in employment, and in power sharing, there hasn't been that much changes.
Hmm. Hmm.
I, I shared earlier on that I was within the system, the correctional system, Abata Justice, for 31 years.
Wow. Wow.
I was the only female Black manager
Wow.
for the last 10 years of my service. So
Wow.
I will go into a conference of hundreds of managers, and I'll be the only Black person there.
Hmm. How did you cope?
Well, you know, there is something called resiliency.
Yeah.
And if you're an immigrant in any country, you will know what I mean by resiliency.
Hmm.
You separate your work life from your home life.
Hmm.
And it's almost like a switch. As soon as you step to the door of your workplace, you're a different person.
Yeah.
And for me, working in an institution, a jail really for young people,
Hmm.
not only do I have to stellar myself for the fact that this is a jail that I'm working to, and rules, regulations, securities, you know, contrabands and things like that with the offenders.
Hmm.
I also have to remind myself that the people that are supposed to be my colleagues, most of them are my enemies.
Wow. Wow.
So therefore, you just develop that okay. I hate to say it, that it's almost like you are going to a war zone.
Hmm. Every day of your life.
Yeah, but I'm happy though to say that through my position as a manager and eventually a recruiting and training manager, I was able to foster a little bit of diversity in our staffing complement to represent the population that we serve.
That is amazing.
And I constantly also have to remind some of my colleagues and head office that it's unfortunate that we have our population was higher on the indigenous side, yet we don't have indigenous staff members.
Wow.
So gradually I was able to, and with the help of very few colleagues and my superior, we were able to hire highly educated, competent people of color to work in there. And I hope that they continue that practice, because I left 5 years ago. I retired 5 years ago.
Wow, I hope so. Still on the Global Talkative series here with our guest today, Mrs. Moji Taiwo, author, community activist, and mentor. And today's topic is still war against the pandemic and the diversity dilemma. I want to appreciate Brack was partners for joining us on this show. Aribatishe Adekemi Priscilla from Nigeria, thank you for joining us. Team Udoka Paul, Timothy Wesi, Alabi Adenekon, and Oluwadele Bolutefe, and all those who are joining us from around the world. We appreciate you for joining us on this show. Thank you so much. Now, recently, like about a month ago, the Prime Minister actually did say this on the news, and I'm not making this up, that yes, there is systemic racism in Canada now. And just like 2 days ago, the RCMP chief too also apologized that yes, there is systemic racism in our system. So in your words, how will you describe the systemic racism that exists within our system?
Well, there is I'm a very positive person, and I'm a hopeful person. And because of that, like I said, I tend to be part of the solution instead of just complaining about the problem. As I said earlier, there was problem in my workplace, and I worked very hard to get to the position where I could make change, and I effected changes while I could. So the systemic racism in Canada, most of them, sometimes it's very veiled, it's thin. You can, well, most non-colored people will not see it. So I give them that. Most colored people will not see it because they're not looking for it, right?
Yeah.
They don't have to walk into work, like I said, and worry about the environment and worry about their colleagues, sabotaging them.
Yeah.
That's foreign to them. They won't understand it unless I share it with them. And even if I share it with them, some of them will say, no, that can't be so. And I don't blame them when they say, no, that can't be so, because they could not fathom anything like that. So systemic racism is when you apply for a job and they see your name and it's not John Smith.
Wow.
And they don't invite you for for an interview. And I have seen that firsthand when we are screening candidates. When we are screening candidates, they're highly qualified, they met all the requirements, but because of the name, they wanted to be screened out. And I'll say, why? Well, if they can't pronounce the name or they have an accent, because we talk on the radio system, people may not understand them, and say, that might be so, but let's give them an opportunity first. Give them an opportunity to see them, hear them, present themselves first before you rule them out.
Wow.
So that
is amazing.
And there is a sad one. I can go on and on. All my children were born and raised here. Every single one of them have a story to tell on their own. But I also have a few stories of when I had to go to the school to advocate for them. And instead of just waiting for them to call me because there is a problem, I planted myself at the school by volunteering.
So I can see what is going on.
I at the beginning of the school year, every grade, I take my children and present them to the teacher. They're not used to that. A bold Black mother coming to school demanding a meeting before the school even starts. I will say, this is my child. She is brilliant. Is this, is that, is that. And you can expect him to be a good boy, behaviorally. If you see anything that's not behaviorally good, give me a call. I don't want to see it on the school report.
That is a good step.
Because what they do is that they will marginalize the kids. They will push them aside. They have assumption. If they see a kid with a colored kid, they are either one of two things. They are either thugs or troublemaker, or if they are high achiever, they dismiss it.
Wow.
So I made it a point of presenting my children to the teachers at the very beginning before they made their own assumptions.
Wow. That is a very bold step to take. Trying to let them know that, in case you're planning anything, this is my kid. So before you start thinking of something to do, I'm here, just let me know.
And of course, in those days, my children were usually the only Black child in the whole grade. So they didn't really have too much of other Black kids, but they do have, their white friends, which is great.
Yeah.
So I would do that every school year. And the only one year, my daughter in grade 12 decided that, Mom, I asked her, I said, do you still want me? She said, no, if you want to come, you can come. I'm in grade 12. I don't care. You've done that all my life anyway. So I decided to let it be. And lo and behold, in grade 12 social studies class, they were studying about Nazi Germany, and Hitler.
Yeah.
And of course, she was vocal and she let her opinion known in class and whatever. And and in this school, again, the only handful of kids in school and Black kids in school and the only Black child in that classroom. The teacher took offense to it, and it reflected in her marks.
Wow.
And
taking out her mind.
Yes. And she went up to the teacher and said, this grade is not mine.
What a bold child.
On a bold child. Well, she came from me. So the teacher didn't know how to take it. The teacher reported to the principal. They called me at work. As I was taking his call, my daughter was also calling me on another, and the system, they were paging me for another call. Eventually, I connected with both of them and I set up an appointment with my daughter and the teacher. See, another point is never go to meet the teachers without your child. Always take your child with you. So the child can hear what you're saying to the teacher. The teacher knows what the child knows. So there is nothing ambiguous about anything. So we set up an appointment to meet with the teacher and my daughter. And 2 days later, the teacher says, no, you don't need to come and meet with me.
Why?
And I insisted. I said, but, you said she crossed you and the teacher says, no, Mrs. Taiwo, your daughter is absolutely right.
Wow. She owned up to a mistake.
He actually is a guy owned up to his mistake. He said, you may not have remembered, but there was a form in those days, when your child is going to kindergarten, you write a profile of your child and your home. And he said, you may have forgotten that, but I went into her history, her school history. And I noticed that from what you wrote when she was in kindergarten, she had been consistent all the way. And she's actually one of our best students. I need to apologize to her.
Wow. That is great. I think at some point, when people are experiencing this issue of systemic racism, recently something happened to me personally in this issue of racism, systemic racism, and then I had an interview. I had a guest on a show some time ago, and I was talking to her, and she said, what, Lanre, don't let this slide. Call the people out, because at times they might not know that they're doing this, or they actually know. Always trying to call them out and tell them, no, this is wrong. Do it properly. And I think that is one of the things, the lesson that we should learn today, basically.
And the other thing too is that the ones that are doing it on purpose, they expect you to be loud, aggressive, and whatever. If you do that, you're falling into the plan.
Trap.
So I tend to just be calm and calculated and straight to the point. I will acknowledge them and the role they are in, but I also let them know at the beginning that I'm a taxpayer and my taxes are paying their salary.
Exactly. Yeah. That is amazing. Call them out, Fariki. For all our viewers from around the world, this is still the Global Talkative Series, a global platform where we bring issues like this and discuss them. And thank you for those who are joining us, Fariki, Olu, Tonybo. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate you. Nevin Dominic, thank you for joining us. Paul Chukwuka Oliver, thank you for joining us. We appreciate you. And, we're talking about a very, very important topic today, war against the pandemic and the diversity dilemma. Of course, the issue of racism. We cannot, but, discuss this and find a way to find some solace. Now, I have this question that from someone. He said, many a times when I'm talking to my friends or I'm talking on the phone with some folks, and because of my background, especially from the eastern part of Nigeria in Africa, when she said, when we're talking, with our friends, folks here think that we're fighting. That many a times that I'm on the phone with a customer service of a company or something, and the next thing they're saying, you are yelling, you are shouting, and the person said, I'm just talking. How do we address issues like that? Because for me, culture is an avenue whereby people can learn about our way of life, about our culture. Now, if you constantly accuse someone that is doing this, is doing that, at what point will people want to learn? How can we help our other community members to learn about the cultures of the people they're living with? Because Canada, it's a melting pot of cultures. It's like a big pot of different types of beef, meat, chicken, soup, gumbo, pot where you have all sorts. But this idea is still coming up.
That's an interesting one. I'm a realist and I'm a practical person. Yes, our culture, we tend to be loud. Even for me, we tend to be loud. And we were loud because we're coming from a place where there's huge population. And we're an exuberant kind of people by nature. We're exuberant. Yeah. And that's why I say, when I'm in my comfort zone amongst my people, I let my guards down. But I also realize that when I'm in the public place, it's for everyone. It's not just for me.
Yes.
So I should not be hearing your private conversation. That's the way I look at it. And some people will say, oh, you are Canadianized. Well, maybe I am, but I also spent my youth and growing up in Nigeria, and I knew that in my household, we didn't yell in order to be heard.
Yeah.
Actually, when you yell, it sort of takes away from the message that you're trying to portray. So sometimes we talk loud and we're exuberant. And I am exuberant because when I see somebody that I love, well, with COVID now, we can't hug. I'm
Yeah.
a hugger. I hug people and I laugh and, but there's place and time for everything.
Yes. Yes. That's amazing. Thank you very much. And now, talking in terms of COVID-19, now, COVID-19 came like a mighty flood and caused a massive disruption in our world up till now. Would you say it has had an impact on the current outlook of things, especially as it relates to diversity in this world or in Canada?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Nothing will ever go back to the way it used to be again. Well, with what is going on around the globe now, aside from the COVID pandemic, there is also this racial awareness pandemic that's
Yeah.
going on. I think we ought to thank COVID for just blowing the lid off of everything.
Yeah.
Because this person that was killed, Floyd,
George Floyd,
was
yes.
it was not the first person that was killed. I had my own experiences with police officer here in Calgary and Lethbridge,
Wow.
where they were looking for an excuse to rough handle or malhandle me or my husband.
Wow. Wow.
I've been followed because I was driving a nice car out of an exclusive neighborhood, and I was stopped because of that.
Wow. Wow.
But but because it was daylight and I work in corrections, so I knew my rights. I stopped and asked the officers. I knew I wasn't speeding. I knew I didn't do anything wrong. Why did you stop me? He said, may I please have your license? He had my license, ran it. What he wanted to find out was, why is this black woman driving a nice car?
Nice car. Is
And
that a
why
crime?
and why is she coming out of a ritzy neighborhood? I live there.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
So he came back and I said, so you are going to tell me why you stopped me? He said, well, I see that you're following too closely to that car in front of you. And I said, by the way, there was no car in front of me.
Check your camera.
Oh, no, there was no camera in those days.
Okay. Yeah, it's true. That's another thing. Yeah.
I'm talking about 1993.
Wow. Wow.
There
Wow.
was no camera. But he learned a lesson there, because without yelling or anything, I said there was no car in front of me. And I just look at him. I said, you have to wrestle with your conscience. And I let him go.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
So going back to, what was the question again?
The issue of COVID-19, how has been affected. Yeah.
Yes. So because of COVID-19, people were claustrophobic. People had time to slow down.
Yeah.
People had time to just be aware of their being and of their surroundings and what's going on around the world. We were forced to slow down and pay attention.
Yes.
Because of that, a whole lot of people around the world, and with the help of the camera and social media, were able to see what colored people, what indigenous people, what Black people have been going through for decades. Even after his video came out, there are other videos just preceding his that were now being released.
Yeah.
So they cannot sweep anything under the carpet anymore.
No longer.
They couldn't sweep, and people can now take time and see and say, oh, wow, this is actually going on. This is true. There are still naysayers out there. I go on social media once in a while. Some people are still offended with the fact that we're speaking. And again, I want to believe that some of them, again, they don't get it because they've never experienced it.
Yeah.
Some of them, they don't get it because they cannot bring themselves to think that another human being will be treated like that.
Yeah.
And some of them just don't give a shit.
Yeah, it's true. They don't care.
So COVID has really blown a lead on our struggles.
Yes.
Struggles that have been going on for a long time. And I must also say that the young generation now, and when I say generation, I mean black, white, Hispanic,
Caucasian, yeah.
Okay, they are bolder than us. Things that we will put up with and be just quiet about it because we didn't want to rock the boat. I rock boats. Yeah. So there are not too many people like me in those days. So we didn't want to rock the boat. This generation is saying that humanity counts.
Yes.
Humanity counts. And we are all we all deserve to be treated with respect and dignity.
Wow, that's amazing. Still on the Global Talkative series, a global platform where we bring topics that is out, and then we try to find some solutions. And I want to appreciate those who are joining us from around the world. Genevieve, we thank you. Diela Okran, thank you for joining us. Farika, thank you for joining us. We appreciate you for joining us. And Tony Lafenwa, thank you for joining us. And Olutoyibo, we appreciate you. Thank you for joining us. For our audience today, this is a very, very important topic we're discussing, and from every likelihood that this topic, this series or this session will spill to like a double session. We've had guests on this show that the topic are very, very, they're very important. They are very vital to what is happening, and Instagram only allow 1 hour, but from our studio the conversation continues on YouTube and Facebook. So when it's on the dot of 1 hour, we'll switch, on the Instagram off, and we'll connect again on the Instagram. So don't go nowhere. We still have in the house our author, community activist and mentor, Mrs. Moji Taiwo. And today's topic has been war against the pandemic and the diversity dilemma. Now, the question I have, based on what you said from your experience when the police stopped you, now, we've had cases of racial profiling. What you've experienced some 10, 20 years ago, stopping you still goes on. Now, how, as an experienced correctional officer, if I'm driving, because I've seen that, it has happened to me. I was driving around my neighborhood, and then I didn't do anything wrong, but I noticed that this policeman, I turned left, he turned left. I turn right, he turned right. I move forward. So I knew that something is wrong somewhere. And I kept on driving. And the other cars, and he kept on following me because I've watched a lot of movies to be aware of what is happening. And I kept on driving, and I drive into my neighborhood where there's a construction, and there was some construction vehicles, and I drive past them. And it was that construction vehicle that came in, and the police couldn't get through. And that is how I was able to escape, because I don't know what will have happened. Now, to our audiences, especially person of color, if I'm driving, because I wasn't even driving a Porsche car. I was driving a very Porsche car. I was just driving a regular car. So they want to stop me. So if you're driving a vehicle, for the benefit of our audiences, if I'm driving and a policeman stopped me because of maybe my color or whatever, or what I'm driving a good car or driving from a very nice neighborhood, what should be my response? We need to know. Please tell us.
Well, basically, the officer will come, you wind your glass down, you exchange pleasantry. I always say, hello, officer. And they said, your driver's license, whatever. As I'm taking my driver's license and particulars to give, I will be asking, may I please know what I'm being stopped for?
Hmm.
They have to answer you. May I please know what I am being stopped for?
Hmm.
The moment you ask that question, they realize that this person knows their right. If it's a bogus stop, they will fumble and just said, well, we're just doing, spot checks or whatever. And if the officer doesn't know his or her stuff, they will say something nasty.
Hmm.
And then you can look up and their name tag is there. And then I will address them by their name. Officer so and so.
Just to let you know that I'm calling you out.
Yes. And you know the name. And even after everything is done, you can ask them for their badge number, which is also under their name.
So by law, we can ask them and they're supposed to give it to us.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
And the badge number is under the name too.
Okay.
So you copy that down. And if you're talking to them respectfully, but sternly, that, I ask you what I'm being stopped for. If that is not provided, you turn, you say, Officer Johnson, I ask you, what am I being stopped for?
Hmm. Hmm.
And if there is no response, you already have the name and you have the badge number, you file a complaint. And once they know that you have the name and the badge number, they know that you probably follow up.
Wow. 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 That is amazing.
But I will never advise not to stop.
Hmm.
When
Okay.
police officer asks you to stop or following you, you stop. You just don't stop where it's secluded.
Yes, that's another good point. Don't stop where
Don't
it is.
stop where it's secluded.
Okay. But that is a very tricky situation because uh some of the policemen, I've seen some of them that they, I don't know, because if you're a policeman, you should be somewhere visible so that your presence alone, it's a warning to
Mhm.
drivers and commuters. But I found it like strange seeing them like locking in some corners that,
They want to issue you a ticket. That's why. They have to meet their quota, end of the month quota.
wow, this is amazing. We're still coming back over thought because I need to change over, end the Instagram live chat while we continue on Facebook and YouTube for our audience. But before then, Fariki sent a question. I have some questions sending from our audience on
Mhm.
Facebook as well. I'll read
Yes.
that from Fariki. She said, there is a police commission meeting on Tuesday that I wish to attend. I am nervous about my safety post meeting if I attend. What
No.
should I expect there?
Actually, if the meeting is in Calgary, I can say you have nothing to worry about. Because again, like I said, with all the obstacles that I face, I don't just relate my question, I find solution.
Hmm.
So when I retired 5 years ago, I actually joined a board of the Calgary Police Diversity Committee Advisory Board, the CPS, Calgary Police Services Diversity Advisory Board for African Community. And again, what we do is try to bring concerns from the community like this into the board, and there is a constable representative with us that takes it to the police.
Hmm.
Conversely, we also prepare lesson plans that we present to the new recruits on understanding culture
Hmm.
and diversity. So I sat on that board for 5 years until recently. So that board all the community advisory boards are meeting with the police commission that this person just alluded to. So you are not alone. I encourage you to attend. They need to hear from real people.
Yeah.
They need to hear from real people. So that's what we've been doing. And somebody called me about it today. That
Hold
the
on, please.
person.
We're changing from Instagram now back to. We're gonna go back to. I'm gonna connect back. So let me just put part 1. So we're gonna connect back on Instagram for our audiences right away. So because this is a very thank you for joining us once again on the Global Talkative series. This is still your host, Lanre Ajayi, and our guest today has been an amazing woman, a mother and a mentor, by the name of Moji Taiwo. She's an author, a community activist, and a mother in the land. And also, today's topic is still war against the pandemic and the diversity dilemma. And I'm going to bring her into the Instagram chat room right away. We're getting some nuggets of truth today about the issue of racism and how to respond to police brutality, and when police stop you, what you all need to do, or you have a case with the police. From my word of experience as a correctional officer for over 31 years, she's given us some raw information and time tested facts, so that we all be equipped with what to do and the step to take. So we're just waiting for her to join in on Instagram right away. Thank you for joining us again from everywhere. Okay, welcome back, Ma, on Instagram. So like we stopped before we were interrupted by Instagram 1 hour charts rules. We were talking about a lady that said, Faraki said, she has some police hearing, and that she's afraid, because she thinks that, what are they going to ask her if, she should go. She's afraid. And you are giving us some information about what she needs to do. So let's go on from there.
Yes, you should definitely go. They need to hear from real people. And it's not like they haven't been hearing before. But it was easy to just say, yeah, before. But now they have no choice. And the forum is larger. The voices are bigger. It's not just Black people demanding humanity and dignity. Yeah. A lot of people, white people, Asian people, indigenous people, everybody is calling for the same now. So our fight is not ours alone anymore.
It's a collective.
It's a collective fight now. So therefore, I always endeavor to be part of solution, not just of the because I don't see myself as a victim. I never, ever accept a role of a victim,
which is crucial, which is very important.
Because when the moment you accept that, you get paralyzed, and when you get paralyzed, you can't do anything. You can't function. Yes, we face a lot of stress.
That is good.
It's a lot of stress, and the stress affects you. It affects your family. It affects the children, and on and on and on. So, you have to be part of the solution, and don't you ever be afraid. When I'll tell you a little story.
All right.
When I released this book 2 years ago, one of my very good friends, I gave the book to review it before he went into printing.
Yeah.
And she's a very successful friend in corporate Calgary. She delayed and delayed, and eventually I called her up that I'm running out of time here. And she said, Moji, I must be honest with you. I cannot put my name to this book.
Wow.
And I said, why? And she said, I work in corporate Calgary. Calgary is not ready for this
This kind
candidate.
of wow, wow.
And she was actually concerned for me. So I reminded her that I'm retired. And then she said, what about your children? Your children are professionals, and aren't you afraid? I said, no, nothing's going to happen to my children. And if anything happens to them, we'll take it up from there.
Wow.
I wasn't going to hide.
The truth.
I said, Calgary and the populace and whatever may not be ready, but I was ready.
Yes.
My people were ready. I'm sure I wasn't the only one that had these experiences.
Yes, but someone has to speak out.
Someone has to speak out. And it's not, and my book, it's not only for people who are going through hardship. It's also to educate people who have not experienced it so that they know the plight of immigrants and the plight of Black people, or the plight of people who are marginalized.
Yeah. That is amazing. Our audience, wow, this is good.
So my friend called me back and apologized about 4 weeks ago.
Wow. You know, we're still having a chat with our amazing guest today by the name of Moji Taiwo, author, community activist, mentor. And today's topic has been a major debate that has been going on around the world: war against the pandemic and the diversity dilemma. And thank you for those who are joining us. Red Kitten, thank you for joining us. Jumoke Latunde, thank you for joining us. Fareke, thank you for joining us. We appreciate you. Busola Latunde, thank you for joining us. Olorunfemi Adedeji, Jill Maria, thank you for joining us. We appreciate you. I have a question. Still talking about, when police talk to you and what were your responses to them? What should you do? I heard sometime somewhere that, at some point, because of racial profiling, or because of, maybe you're driving this kind of car, you're a person of color, and then they have nothing against you, but at times they tend to provoke you. Is that true? Someone
Yes.
asking that they tend to provoke you, so that when they provoke you, they can have something on you. Can you, shed more light on that for us?
So I'll relate an experience. So my husband and 2 kids and myself, young family, we were moving from Lethbridge, a city not too far from Calgary, back to Calgary when I started just to commence my government job, right? So we were relocating to Calgary. And unfortunately, our vehicle broke down at the outskirt of Calgary. In those days, McLeod Trail, just after Chinook Center, was the end of the city. So there are no lights beyond, there are no street lights beyond there. It was night, it was dark. We were tired. The children, the babies were sleeping in the vehicle. So we called AMA. AMA guy came. When he saw that it was a Black man and a Black woman, he radioed. We didn't understand what was going on. So he radioed for backup. The next thing we saw, 4 police cruisers arrived.
Wow.
So we were kind of surprised. What's going on? And they approached, they said, this guy says that he was afraid for his life. And we thought, for
you
what?
Called him. You called him.
We call AMA to come and tow our car and whatever. And they were kind of aggressive with my husband. And I kept saying that, no, we just wanted the service. And if we can get it right, we have a hotel, because our place that we're renting would not be ready until 2 days and this and that. I was hoping that because they saw the 2 kids and on and on and on and on. The police officer said now, so we had to take the kids out of the vehicle, my husband and I, in a parking lot somewhere. And in those days, there were no cell phones.
Yeah.
So we had to find a payphone, the nearest payphone, and these officers stood there until the white AMA driver towed our vehicle away and they left us there.
What? They left you, your husband, and the kids
And the kids there.
in the dark.
Hopefully that doesn't happen these
Wow.
days with that
Wow.
extreme, but
Wow.
it did happen.
Hmm. So how do they
So,
expect you to get to where you're going with the kids? Dark in the
well,
night.
back in the night, so we were able to make it to a payphone and call a cab.
Hmm. That is dehumanizing, because they came with a Ford Cruiser, which
Yes,
it's enough space to give you a ride.
yes. And
Wow.
they were focusing on my husband, trying to agitate him, and I was calming him in the background and say, that's okay, just let them go, we'll find our way.
Hmm.
If he had been there alone,
Only
who
God knows
knows
what will have
what will
happened.
have happened.
Probably they would accuse him of kidnapping those kids.
Well, they will have said he did something to the AMA driver or something, or he did something to them. But it is true that the person is saying that they try to aggravate you. But I must also say, not all officers are like that,
Yeah. Hmm. Hmm.
because I have in police officers too.
Hmm.
Not all officers, and in the advisory committee that I said I was a part of, um, that was one of our goals, is to enlighten and educate the recruits
Hmm.
before they get on the street.
Wow.
And
Wow.
some of those classes were also available to seasoned officers who are interested in taking the course.
Hmm. That's amazing. We still have some more questions about
Mhm.
how to handle and deal with the police. But in the meantime, I have a question from someone who's watching us on Facebook by the name of
Yes.
Alabi Adenekon. He
Mhm.
said, what do you advise if someone is discriminated against at work, most especially in a workplace where they talk a lot about diversity, but inclusion is visibly missing?
It's okay. That is a great question, because the movement now, that inclusivity is what we're demanding.
Hmm.
Enough of talk, enough of policy. See, there are policies on diversity and inclusion. I wrote policy on it
Hmm.
when I was working. The policy is there, but it's not used. It's
Wow.
not put into practice. So what we are demanding now is to have it put into practice.
Hmm.
And you can start. Your question is, how do you do that?
Yeah.
If you work in a unionized environment, you have your union reps.
Hmm.
And by the way, you also pay the union reps. If you pay your union dues, which is mandatory payment,
Yeah.
you use them. Because I also found that union reps, if you don't know your rights, they are just as bad
Hmm.
as the people that you want to fight against.
Hmm. Hmm.
So if you have your booklet, your rights, your privileges as a union member, and you are paying your dues, they need to represent you fairly. You
Hmm.
go there first,
Hmm.
and they will
Hmm.
tell you what needs to be done, what doesn't need to be. If you don't have a union rep, find somebody who's an ally. Because even in all these places, and as you will read in my book, if you get a copy of it, as you will read in my book, every challenges that I face, I also had an ally that's quiet in the background.
Hmm. That is amazing.
Because during our time, there weren't many white people that are bold enough to speak on your behalf. or to stand beside you. But that's changing.
Yes.
Look at all these protests. You have lots of allies.
A lot. Supporting Black Lives Matter.
You just have to open your eyes, open your ears, be aware of your environment, and find an ally.
That's
how you start dealing with that.
Yeah,
You cannot be alone.
Yes. I hope if you're there, if you're listening to our speaker, you have understanding of what it means to find an ally, someone that you can, relate with, someone that you can call a brother or a sister, or someone that that's got your back, so that you won't just be suffering alone in the situation. Now, our next question is this: based on this issue of racism and the brutality and the harassment, what do you think our leaders and authorities need to do differently if the issue of racism is to become a thing of the past in Canada, which I know it may never disappear completely, but what can our leaders and authorities do to minimize this?
Well, I have solutions or proposed solutions from my experiences and everything like that. I think our leaders need to realize that when the masses are treated with dignity, we all benefit.
Yeah.
When the masses are treated with dignity, we all benefit. And by the way, our leaders they're chosen to serve us. And in order to serve us, they need to know us. Yeah. And they need to know what we're going through, what makes us human. So that's number one. They need to take a look inward. They need to seek to learn and put other people's experiences into their daily lives and what they do. And, just because something doesn't happen to you or you don't see, it doesn't mean that this other person's experience is not valid.
Yeah.
So they need to know that. Because I still hear a few of them here and there saying, oh, this thing happens in United States, but it's not as bad here. According to whom? According to you that's never experienced it?
Before.
Or according to me that lived it? So our leaders need to educate themselves truthfully.
Yeah.
Who's teaching our kids in schools?
That is another major point that we should look into.
Who are the people teaching our kids in school? If the teacher is ignorant of our children's feelings, how are they going to teach them? How are they going to embrace them, include them?
Yeah.
And I have a little story for that too. Just last year, my 4-year-old grandson was in a preschool, French immersion preschool. And of course, I would drive him, drop him off, and pick him up. I noticed that dropping him off, sometimes he became clingy and he would cry. But when I pick him up, he was happy. So I asked him, why do you cry all the time when you go in? He said, because Madam Colette doesn't like me.
Wow.
4-year-old.
That's not good for a 4-year-old to have that kind of notion about someone.
And I asked him, I said, why? But 4-year-old, he couldn't really tell me how or why. So I volunteered. So I volunteered in the school, in the class. And I will watch when the kids line up to go into classes. The teacher will welcome them, embrace them, and they go in. But when it came to my Black grandchild, and 1 or 2 other kids of color, she would greet them and just usher them with no embrace.
Wow. So they can see it.
So they can
why
see
are we different if you can embrace others? Oh.
Yes. So I volunteer in the classes and I continue my observation. At the end of the school year, I called the teacher aside. I said, I have an observation. It's something you've probably done before and you are not aware of it. You've definitely done it now, but I don't want you to repeat it with another kid that's coming. And I laid it out for her. Initially, she got her back up and denied. And I let her protest until I gave her concrete incidences with dates and time.
That's fact. That she can't deny.
So that's how, so our school boards, our education ministries need to really focus. The teachers need to be representative of the students they're teaching.
Yeah.
A lot of our people, a lot of Black people have education degree, but they were not hired.
Yeah. That is another major issue that we need to address.
Yes.
Like you said, who are those teaching our kids in school?
Who are those
what are
teaching our kids?
the curriculum like?
The curriculum,
Yeah.
So well, the curriculum part is one, teaching Black history, having books that represent and show the different ethnicity and different races is one. Training the trainers, training the teachers also is another part. Because you can have all the books and everything. If the teachers is biased, they're not going to choose the books.
That's the truth.
So that's one. Employment. Who are the people hiring? And what are the biases that they hold themselves? I shared earlier on in my experience, my colleagues, some of them that accepted me because they have no choice, and because they are used to me, they are okay with me. But when it comes to screening and interviewing, they revert back
to their old ways,
to their biases.
Wow.
And I will ask them later on, and they'll say, yeah, but we know you. And I will say, if I hadn't had opportunity to be here and all these years, will you get to know me?
That is a very fact, because recently I was calling for an interview, and everything was perfect. Everything, I think, like I was like probably overqualified for the job.
Well, they use that as an excuse too.
Yeah, and the person said, but sorry, something that, okay, would you like to know why you were not given the role? I said, okay, let me just know. I want to know. So I had a video interview, meeting afterwards, and the job is basically about activating the community, bringing the community together, which is my passion. That's what I do. People know that, and said that the reason why you're not given the job is because there's some keywords you're not mentioning. And I said, excuse me, am I interviewing to be a doctor or an engineer or a lawyer that I have to know the strength of a material or my law or some terminologies?
Said, they come up with all kinds of excuses.
Said there's some words, and I said, oh, so because I use a different English to explain myself, you were saying, and I said, okay, well, I'm not arguing with you. You just decided that you're not giving me the job. So thank you very much. Have a wonderful day. So
I will often tell them that it's their loss.
Yeah, because you are asking me that there's some words I did not use. And the last time I checked, working as a community builder doesn't necessarily mean that you have to know some terminologies. It is work on the field. I have to be on the field to help the community, bring about our community, come together, work together, encourage the youth to do something meaningful with their life. So I was just wondering why, I just like, these are the challenges that people are facing, and I thank you because of what you actually shared, so that people will know that we're not just making this up, but it actually happens during interviews.
Well, I said that I went through the ranks,
Yeah.
but that didn't mean that I applied and I got it.
Mm-hmm.
I applied and I applied, and they gave me all kinds of excuses why I didn't get it until they ran out of excuses.
Wow. Hmm.
Because I did not accept and just let go.
Hmm. 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 Fariki said a question. Said, "What about the black business owners who will not hire a person of color because of the of lies that a white person or begrudged constable told them?" I guess this person has experienced that. Because a black owner wanted to employ him or her, but because the owner of the business has been lied to, and then you know she was
I
she's,
I I,
she's
I don't quite understand
She's
who.
saying that what about black business owners who will
Yes,
not hire a person of color? This time around, the
yes.
black person not hiring the black person because of the lies that a white person or begrudged constable told them.
Oh, begrudge
Begrudged
constable.
constable,
So,
you know,
so I'm suspecting that this person was in the force, like in a police, or it's kind of.
yeah,
I understand the first part of the question, but
yeah.
I don't understand the second part of the question
I
where
think I think she's saying that
somebody
she probably
was.
wanted to apply for a job. She wanted to get a job
I
somewhere.
understand. I understand. Where does the begrudge constable white, is that through a reference?
Yeah, because
It,
someone lied that okay, she's a person of color. She applied
I
to work a
understand.
job with a business owned by a black person, but because of probably the reference or something that
My,
someone said.
I'm going to assume that it's a reference from a white person.
Hmm,
And well, as a black business owner, or as a business owner for that matter, if you're wanting to hire somebody, you do have to have reference.
yes,
And if the reference is not conducive to what you're looking for in practical way, you have to protect your business.
yes, absolutely.
Unless if you have other experiences, volunteer experiences that you can use to augment or to counter this other reference that the white person give, then the black business person can sort of, put both side by side to make his or her decision.
Hmm,
But this is a difficult one. We
yeah,
cannot assume that it's because, well, we can assume from what you said that there's a reference or somebody said something.
hmm, yeah,
And if what that person says is not positive, this black person that's owning a business will be risking it in
yes,
hiring you when you have a, yeah.
yeah.
So
Thank
that one is a difficult one for me.
Thank you very much. For those who are joining us, we appreciate you. Ayinke's Kitchen of Ayinke's Kitchen. Thank you for joining us. Jumoke Adenle Olatunde Oluwadayo Adiemo. Thank you for joining this conversation. Our topic today is war against the pandemic and the diversity dilemma. And our speaker today has been an amazing woman, an author, community activist by the name of Moji Taiwo. If you have questions, you can, send your question. If you're watching us on Facebook or YouTube or on Instagram, kindly send your question, and we still have a bit of time to address this question and then to answer it. So, coming back to the issue of the police, stopping, um, you said something that we should ensure that it is not somewhere that is, like dark or somewhere very, hidden. Now we can we're driving, you know, we don't know where the next policeman is hiding, and we can't avoid, things like that. We can't avoid. Okay, I think okay, I'm gonna bring you back in on Instagram. I want to just bring this Mojito back on Instagram. Okay, so just for everybody to have an understanding to, be part of this discussion, we're trying to just bring her back on Instagram right away. And Nulikan, thank you for joining us on Instagram. We appreciate you for taking time out to be part of this discussion.
It looks like my phone is dead.
Oh, okay. Okay. So well, we're going to continue on this discussion. We're still broadcasting right here in our studio on Facebook and YouTube, and our guest is off on Instagram, but we'll continue. And then I hope you enjoy this discussion. So, the question, it's around this issue of police, stopping, a person of color, and that we can't predict that we're going to be somewhere public or hidden when they stop us. So, if at all it happens, now for the benefit of our viewers and those who are just joining us again, I will want you to explain the steps to take. Number one, I agree. You said if a police stops you, you stop. So long you are not an offender, you don't have any criminal, behavior or anything suspicious in your car, you stop. What is the next thing to do?
The next thing to do is, well, naturally they will ask you for your identification and your papers and whatever. As you getting it out for them, you ask them nicely. You're getting your papers, officer, what am I being stopped for? Officer, what am I being stopped for?
That means you can
repeat
ask
it.
them the question,
You
officer.
can ask them question, officer,
being stopped
what
for?
am I being stopped for? And
Okay.
you give them your ID. If you feel that it's dark or isolated, whatever, put on your hazard lights. The moment they're behind you, put on your hazard lights and drive slowly to where you feel comfortable.
Okay.
By putting your hazard lights, you are acknowledging them that you've seen them. You're just
right.
looking for a place to park.
Okay. For the benefit of our viewers on Instagram, what our guest just mentioned, that if police stopped you, ensure that it is not somewhere that is very dark or somewhere hidden. Now, if at all you find yourself in such a situation that you were stopped in a very, very questionable place or space, then put on your hazard lights and drive slowly to a place where you feel comfortable that yes, I can talk to you. Now, that signal to the policeman that yes, I have seen you, you've stopped me with the hazard light, then you're driving slowly. And then once you find a place that is comfortable, that is, spacious, that you think, yeah, this is spacious enough or open enough, then you can engage, in the discussion with the police. I'm saying this for the benefit of our Instagram viewers. Okay, you can go ahead, ma.
So, and of course, you give them the particulars. They will run it. They will come back, and if they haven't answered your question, by that time you call the officer by his name and repeat, Officer Johnson, I'd asked you before, why am I being stopped?
Call them by their
And
name on their
by their
badge.
name on their badge, and if they will give you whatever. And if you're not satisfied, you can say, okay, I'm not satisfied with that reason. Do you mind if I copy your name and badge number down?
That is amazing. You tell them, you call them by their name, it appears on their badge, and then with courtesy, why I've been stopped, why are you stopping me? And then I have the right to know. And also, if you're not satisfied with that, you can just, tell them, can I copy your badge or your name? Right.
And of course, this is Canada.
Yeah.
This is law enforcement in Canada. I don't know how it's practiced anywhere else.
Yeah.
That what I'm saying to you is purely based on our practices in Canada.
Wow, that is amazing. We have about 10 minutes more on this live chat. And for those who are watching or will be watching later on Instagram, I will encourage you to go to Lanre Ajayi on YouTube or Diamond Touch X or Ajayi Olanrewaju on Facebook to get a full episode of this chat. The full length episode. It's available on my YouTube channel. So I'm going to be signing off on Instagram. I will end the discussion on our YouTube and Facebook page. So, in closing, what word of advice do you have for our audiences in terms of racism, discrimination, and then also the announcement about your book, will follow afterwards?
Before we do that,
Okay.
you'd ask me about what our leaders need to do.
Yes.
I go to number 2. I
right.
have one more.
Okay.
And the last and very important is our elected officials. Our elected officials, what are their biases and their fears? I just, there is a Stockwell Day. Stockwell Day was a prominent conservative provincial leader who actually ran to be a prime minister of this country at one time. When this incident broke, and in discussion of systemic racism and racism, he said there is no racism, nothing is worse than even he himself was teased because he wore glasses in elementary school.
Wow.
What does wearing glasses have to do with the color of my skin?
Absolutely nothing.
It's not comparable.
At all.
But that's how limited their knowledge is. Recently, here in Alberta today, there is a provincial MLA. I think his last name is Gray. He made repeatedly racist remarks with no apologies. Yet, he's still a member of our provincial government cabinet. And he happened to be one of the panelists that the justice minister appointed to screen and choose our judges.
Wow.
So an open racist in a position to choose our judges who are going to be upholding the law of the province.
Yes.
And our people will be appearing in front of these judges
so
who have been tainted by a racist that chose them. So, in our elected officials, we need to find out their biases.
Yeah.
If they truly want to serve all of us, then they must understand all of us.
Yes. That is the truth.
They must understand all of us.
At least that is the responsibility of someone who is vying for the position of leadership or authority.
That's right.
It is your responsibility because it's a ginormous work. You want to be a leader, you must learn to serve, and part of service is learning. People,
that you're going to be yes.
And that is, if you can't do that, then you're not fit to be a leader.
You don't fit for
Wow.
And I can cite another example, but I'll just leave it so that it doesn't seem like I'm political.
Yeah, for our viewers today, we've been talking to Moji Taiwo, author, community activist, and mentor, and we started this conversation by asking her what inspired to write a book, which is one of the best sellers around, and initially seeing the title of the book, you would think it's a religious book, which of course there's nothing wrong with writing a religious book or any kind of book. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that, absolutely nothing wrong with that. But it has been said that you don't judge a book by the cover.
By its cover.
You don't.
That's right.
You have to understand what it is. And I think I want us to show our audience, the book so that they can know? Show our audience. Now, that is the book. I give because I'm blessed. I'm blessed because I give. And any information you need about getting this book, it's on Amazon in audio version and also in hard copy. And you can go to mojitaiwo.com for more information. And then go ahead and tell our audience the announcement about the book.
Okay, so the book is available, of course, on Amazon on paperback, and it's available in Kindle and audio. So you can get it on Amazon. You can get it on Find a Way Voices in Audible.
Let them see. Let them see the book. Why you're talking about that? Okay.
In Audible, you can get it anywhere. And if you're in you can also ask your local library to bring them in for you. The local library have access to it if your local library subscribe to books, and they can bring it in for you. So, and the book is a chronicle of an immigrant's journey, and it provides you excitement to be your unique self. It gives you inspiration to be successful. It empowers you to step out in faith. Even though it's not a religious book, I'm a faithful person. So, and I believe that you have to have strong faith in order to achieve your goals. It motivates you to pursue your dreams and achieve your goals. It strengthens you to challenge the standards. And it gives you grace and fortitude to give, to share, and receive blessings. Also, a strong belief of mine. I believe that the more I give out, the more I get back.
Yes.
It may not come back to me directly, but I know that I have people who benefit from me.
Yes.
My children, my grandchildren, my extended family. It's give you an open mind to learn from others.
Yes.
So for people who are non-white, who are non-white, who are white, who are non-black, who are from different ethnicity, everybody can enjoy and find something valuable in the book.
Yes.
It gives you courage to transform challenges into opportunities.
Yeah.
And of course, it gives you wisdom to be a flourisher rather than a survivor.
That is amazing. Before we go, there's something you said, there's a particular chapter you said in the book that was dedicated to the issue of police brutality, issue of undressing person of color here and there. And I just wanted to say something about that particular chapter for our audience as a juicy to encourage them to go get the book.
In chapter 6 of the book, it talks about my trials and triumphs. It's trials and triumphs. In that book, I zero in on a particular challenge and how I took that challenge and turned it into something that's beneficial for me.
An opportunity.
So, an opportunity. So it's more or less like a step-by-step handbook.
Yeah.
To turning difficulties into opportunities.
Wow.
And that's in chapter 6 of my book.
That is amazing. Thank you so much for coming out today on the Global Talkative series. It's been an expository, session, which I know someone was saying that we should have this, on online for people to hear and play again. Well, I've got good news for you. It's available, by a couple of hours. It's available here on Instagram and on YouTube and on Facebook. And then Mrs. Taiwo will send it to all of our audiences as well to see, which is also, the Bible says something about buy the truth and do not sell it. It's saying that when you are armed with the truth, then you will know how to go out and be free, because truth always gives freedom. When you are, it's like a judge saying you are discharged and acquitted. It is based on established fact and truth. So these are nuggets of truth for you, our audiences all around the world, to go, receive this message learn from an experienced a mother, a mentor, an activist in the community, and a model, all in one together. We're blessed to have you. Thank you very much for coming on this show. We appreciate you and all our audiences across the nations of the world. We thank you for making it a date with us on the Global Talkative series. I'm still always Lanre Ajayi, and we still have more guests coming, your way. A lot of folks are saying, what, this is amazing. We're learning something, and I'm glad that we're adding value to our community during this time.
Yes.
In closing, just a word of closing for our audience.
Never accept anything less than you are worth.
Hmm.
Never accept anything less than you are worth. It doesn't matter how many times you're faced with a brick wall. If you can't go through it, go around it.
Yeah.
If you cannot go through it, go
Go
around it.
go around it. Thank you.
And another one of my favorite is to be dare to be different.
Yes.
Dare to be positively different.
Yes.
Most of us are afraid to stand out and stand alone.
Yes.
Sometimes you have to do that to
Yeah.
get your message across.
Yes, and it's amazing. If you refuse to stand up, a lot of folks will be punished or relegated to the back. But for what you've done, like while you're working with the correction services, stepping in to intervene for those individuals that, because of the name they are called, refuse to get them in for interview. It's an amazing job you've done for them, and I know that you will be blessed for doing that. And I'm using the opportunity to
Amen.
talk to all our audiences, if especially those who are in the aims of affairs or who are in authority or place of authority. You might just be watching me, or you're watching me afterwards, and you are an employer of labor or an HR personnel in an organization. I keep saying this today. If you're promoted as an HR manager of a company, remember that if you have the opportunity to be fair, and just in bringing in everybody to work, based on merit, not because of the color of their skin or how they
Or
look
the
or,
name.
or their names, you are doing humanity a major.
And that also goes for children.
Yes.
Children, we need to advocate for our kids,
Yes.
any kids for that matter.
Hmm.
I work in correction in juvenile correctional facility. I saw kids as kids and advocate for them regardless of their colors,
Yes.
regardless of their names.
Hmm.
So, this goes to those people who are in charge of taking care of kids. Always remember that somebody else is taking care of your kids.
Yes. Yes.
So you need to be kind.
Yes. And you know what? Whatever a man sow, he or she shall reap. Thank you very much, Adetomi Ajayi, for joining us. She said, dare to stand out and stand alone, and said
Alone.
great words. Thank you so much for all those who have joined, who have sent in messages. Nevin Dominic, Alabi Adenekon. We appreciate all the viewers who have joined us from around the world. ATL Cares, Ellen Agbonison. Thank you, Jumoke Adenle. Thank you, Oludayade Emo Busola Latunde, Olorun Femedeji, Jim Maria, Toyin Lafenwa, Bulu Atife, and so many of you that have taken time out of a busy schedule to join this discussion today. War against the pandemic and the diversity dilemma. Thank you so much. It's bye for now, all our viewers. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day.